In today's history lesson, I shall talk about the top 5 Crusaders in medieval history, starting with number 1, Alfonso, King of Aragon, or Alfonso the Battler. Alfonso was a Spanish warrior who had an impressive 60-year-old career on the battlefield. During his first 4 years as king, he was in constant conflict with the Muslims, but eventually conquered the capital city of Zaragoza in 1118, which is considered his greatest victory. In 1134, Alfonso was asked by his people to conquer the city of Fraga, which was controlled by Muslims at the time. Although the attack on the town was a success, with Alfonso being an incredible leader with brains and brawn, his patience was very thin this specific day, and when advised to attack with more caution by one of his kinsmen, Alfonso cursed him out and demanded a more aggressive approach, which would cost him the victory he wished for. While the Aragonese warriors were pillaging the city, they eventually found themselves surrounded by Muslim warriors and were picked off one by one with spears and arrows. Alfonso managed to hack his way out of the fight using his trusty sword and shield, but was mortally wounded in the end. On September 7th, 1134, Alfonso died in his bed due to the wounds he had in the Battle of Fraga. In the words of Dan Jones in his book The Templars, Alfonso died as he lived, austere in spirit and narrowly focused on the deeds of war. Alfonso had no children to succeed him. Number 2, James of Mai. Not much is known about James of Mai, other than he was one of the Templars who fought in the Battle of Cresson, which was led by Gerard of Rydfort, but his story is still an interesting and very chivalrous one nonetheless. After the bloody battle at Cresson ended, which resulted in Gerard being injured, countless corpses of knights left on the battlefield, and the remaining survivors imprisoned by Saladin, the death of James of Mai became somewhat of a legend in Christian lore and what exactly the ideal crusader should be. According to legend, James was surrounded by enemy soldiers, nothing but a sword in hand. He could have fled with the others, but something inside him told him to stand his ground. Although his enemies offered to spare him if he dropped his sword, James ignored their request and fought as many enemies as he could, until finally he was struck down by the warriors that outnumbered him. On a more disturbing end to this story, it was rumored that someone had stolen a part of James in order to produce children who had just as much courage and valor as he did. Number 3, Renaud of Chatillon. A more famous figure on this list, Renaud has always been a controversial and misunderstood character in Crusade history. To some, he's a hero, to some, he's a villain. He was, however, one of the main villains in the movie Kingdom of Heaven, and was depicted as a ruthless warrior who raided and battled, or more appropriately, crusaded against Saladin's forces, most of which are true, though highly exaggerated to a certain degree. Renaud, being a pirate of the Crusades, does have some leverage to it, as it has been said that he would constantly attack Muslim caravans, attacking the cities of Mecca and Medina, and just being a complete pain for Saladin. Though Renaud thought he was powerful, his greed got the better of him when Saladin offered Guy of Lusignan a drink, which he then gave to Renaud, who desperately took it due to his thirst. Renaud's tale ends with Saladin cutting his head off due to not being offered the cup from Saladin himself. Number 4, Sigurd of Norway, or King Sigurd the Crusader. Sigurd was practically destined to be a king after his father got struck down in battle, leaving young Sigurd, who was 13 at the time, the crown. Despite being a Christian warrior, he still stuck to his Viking roots, with a craving of blood and battle. There were even times when he would watch his father fight in battle, returning to him covered in blood. Utilizing what he knew, he sailed off his home to crusade. His crusades consisted of fighting in the eastern Mediterranean, the city of Lisbon, and the town of Ascalon. After such battles, he would then ally himself with King Baldwin I, and the two would then crusade together, eventually becoming best friends. In his later years, Sigurd would go mad, possibly due to post-traumatic stress disorder. Despite this though, he still managed to be a stable king, and passed away at the age of 40 in his bed, though to my knowledge this is debatable. Number 5. King Richard the Lionheart. Without a doubt, the most iconic crusader on this list, and for me personally, one of my favorites, not just in crusade or medieval history, but history in general. Following the takeover of Jerusalem by Saladin, King Richard set sail to take it back. Already experienced with warfare and having an arm that was made to swing a sword, he was more than ready to lead the Third Crusade. He was described as a mighty warrior of great courage and strong in purpose, who already had so much experience fighting and was intrepid in battle. And during the Third Crusade, it was all true. His most famous battles against his Muslim counterpart Saladin were the Siege of Acre, the Battle of Arsuf, and the Battle of Jaffa. After the Third Crusade had ended, Richard finally agreed to a 30-year truce with Saladin, granting access for Christians to pray in the city. Even centuries after the Crusades had passed, the name of King Richard the Lionheart is still remembered on what the Crusades and who the Crusaders were. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope to share more of my love for history on this channel in the future.